The world you see is a delusional system of those made mad by guilt. That's the golden moment for today. We're going to talk about the world. We're going to read some quotes about what the Course says about the world. The world you see is an outward depiction of an inward condition, is one quote. Eternity, the world has never been at all. Eternity remains a constant state. I believe this is from Workbook Lesson 169. The world has never been at all. Eternity remains a constant state. Forget not the kingdom of God for anything the world has to offer. The world can add nothing to the power and the glory of God and his holy sons, but it can blind the sons to the Father if they behold it. You cannot behold the world and know God. Only one is true. We'll talk about these maybe a little bit more in a moment. This is an insane world, and do not underestimate the extent of its insanity. Do not underestimate the extent of its insanity. The world you see is the delusional system of those made mad by guilt. You must, and that's from the text, chapter 13. And the workbook also has something, I think it's workbook lesson 11. Oh, no worries about that. You must realize that your hatred is in your mind and not outside it before you can get rid of it. And why you must get rid of it before you can perceive the world as it really is. Right, and that would be the real world. Now, the word world is used very often in the Course. The Course talks about the world over and over again. What is the world? And it has this idea of the real world. And we talked about the real world. I've been talking about the real world. What is the real world? Well, let's get to that in a moment. But don't forget also another great quote, which is, seek not to change the world, seek only to change your mind about the world. That's also a very key quote. That might be, if I didn't make that a golden moment, that really should be a golden moment as well. And maybe I will do that soon. So what is the world? The world has never been at all. Eternity remains a constant state. And don't forget, also, Jesus says, I think it's later in the text, he says, could be the workbook though, I forget now. But he says, this world was over long ago. Right? This world does not even exist. The world that we see is not a reality. The world that we see is a delusional system of those made mad by guilt, which would be all of us. And we're all, in a sense, dreaming this dream. We're all complicit in the dream of existence, which is really not true existence. It is what we think is existence, but it's really not true reality. On the other hand, if we could see the world not through the eyes of guilt, but through the eyes of forgiveness, we would see the real world, which is the world that is like purified by forgiveness. And we would see a world which is essentially loving, where everything is returning home to love. Everything that's happening is happening for that one reason, which is bringing us home again. And that's, we would be getting to the real world. And the real world is like the state right before transcending the world of perception, the world of duality, the world of subject and object, when we're just at that point of transcending subject and object, we experience the real world. And it's like, that world is like, everything is just leaning into you and loving you, and you are loving it. And it's just a world of just complete love, joy, peace, oneness. And that's like the penultimate point before you get to the oneness, back to the oneness. So the world has never been at all. In reality, this world does not exist, because time and space are illusory concepts. They're concepts of the ego. Eternity, which is beyond time and space, is the only state of being that there is. That's what the Course affirms. And it is asking us to do the practice so that we also can have the experience of what that is, what that means. Forget not the kingdom of God for anything the world has to offer. The world can add nothing to the power and the glory of God and his holy sons. It's interesting that it says sons here. It doesn't say son. But the Course often speaks dualistically to meet us where we think we are at the moment. But it can blind the sons to the Father if they behold it. You could not behold the world and know God. Only one is true. So the Course, one of the key foundational premises of the Course is one or the other, right? You cannot have both. You cannot have the ego and spirit, or the ego and God. Only one is true. The other is completely false. If you want only God, and you attain that state, that the ego is no more. The world does not exist. The ego and the world basically are the same thing. Ego is the idea of separation. The world is based in this delusional idea of separation. You cannot have both. If you know your true self, if you know God, if you know love, the world, the ego is no more. The body is no more. Right? There's no more bodies. There's no more subject-object duality. It's all over. If you accept the ego, God is out of the picture, right? If you accept the ego even a little bit, that's why none of us here know what God is if we're in our ego at all. We cannot touch it in that when we are identified with being a body and a personality and being a subject. Then God is a mystery. We can only understand God through direct gnosis, or direct knowing, direct experience. This is an insane world, and do not underestimate the extent of its insanity. We see the insanity everywhere, right? In ourselves, in everyone. Everything here is broken. Everything here is, when you really look at it, crazy. It's a madhouse. It's mad to think that we could find anything here that would satisfy us in any real way. But still we try, right? Hope springs eternal. We keep trying. We keep trying to think. We keep trying to make this world our home. But Jesus, as Jesus tells us, and as we really know in our heart, this world is not our home. We're only passing through, right? The world you see is the delusional system of those made mad by guilt, right? We have this deep sense of sin and guilt, and that keeps the illusion going indefinitely, right? And that's how the ego works. Ego works through that. That is its the way it keeps the illusion going, keeps the merry-go-round spinning, is by us thinking there's something really wrong with us, and we can never get right with God. And I want to just mention, because Sly Stewart, who went by the name Sly Stone, Sylvester Stone, before Sylvester Stallone, there was Sylvester Stone of Sly and the Family Stone, and he just died. He was 82 years old. Now, I think he's one of the great musicians of the 20th century. Had a huge impact, and he did it all. He did most of his great work before he was 27 years old. he in a way he was part of the 27 Club. By the time he was 27, he was done. He was right. he could never, by the mid-70s, it was all over for him. He never got back. And he said, I read this thing about him yesterday, and the thing said that he had told someone in his band or in his group that he felt like he had really gotten off with God. He could never get right with God because of all the shitty things that he had done. I guess all the drugs and just he lived large. In that period of time where he became a superstar, he did all of the rock star stuff, and he said that I can't get right with God. I can never go back now. And I think he felt like he was cursed on some level, and his life reflected that. He never, after the mid-70s, maybe the late 70s, I forget exactly what the timeline was, but he just was out of the public eye. He was not. He was a what do you call it? He was washed up. And he was. I think he really. If you listen to his songs, he was a wise man for being at such a young age. And he couldn't have done the music that he did without the genius, having that genius. And I think for someone like him, he could really use the course. Now, did he ever? I know he got free of drugs. I'm not sure, what his spiritual life was like. He did do a memoir. He came out with a memoir recently. So I would like to read that, actually, because I am a big fan of his music. I think his music is some of the coolest music ever. And he was ahead of his time. He was an innovator, and he inspired a lot of people, including the great Miles Davis. Was listening to his stuff and was like, Miles Davis did stuff like Sly and the Family Stone. In the 70s, he tried to copy him. And if it weren't for Sly and the Family Stone, there wouldn't be the funk music that came, that was inspired by that. But I think of Sly and the Family Stone as like, they transcended genres, and they transcended boundaries, and the music just went beyond. You can't say it's funk or rock or jazz or, you can't put it neatly in any, or pop even. You can't put it neatly in any category. In a way, it is like pop music, right? But it's pop. What is pop? Pop does tend to transcend genres, and I think his music really did that, and speaks to his soul. That he was very deep soul and deep, profound individual. You must realize that your hatred is in your mind and not outside it before you can get rid of it. And why you must get rid of it before you can perceive the world as it really is. Right? So, let's take Sly, right? He felt like he could not get right with God. He had gone beyond the pale. God would never accept him back. He would never, he could never. He was in hell. He put himself in hell. This is what I take from what I've read. He did a lot of cocaine, apparently. I've never done cocaine, so I don't know, but I would think that cocaine does a number on you, right? Does a number of numbers on you, and I would think that only added to his not only his egomania, megalomania, but also, coming down from that, probably landed him in deep depression. Your hatred is in your own mind, right? It's not outside of you. Everyone must look within and see that they are their own worst enemy, and they're doing it to themselves. And that's really what the Course is saying. You're doing this to yourself. No one is doing this to you. No one outside of you is doing anything to you. They're only reflecting back to you what is in your own mind. And so it is upon you to address what is happening in your own psyche, and practice forgiveness, right? And as you practice it, as you offer it to others, you offer it to yourself, and as you offer it to yourself, you offer it to others. And it works both ways, and there is no other, until you get to the point where you realize there is no other. There's only one sun, and we're all it. So anyway, I hope this is interesting today. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. The one song that I put out, just to remember Sly, was "Everybody's a Star." Listen to that song. It's a great song. So he had a lot of great songs, but "Everybody's a Star." Okay, thanks. Shine on.